Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Hey, good morning. It's a Tuesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. It's large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got a good show lined up for you today. It's Tuesday. That means good old Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show will be joining us here momentarily. In the second portion of the show, my former roommate and teammate and one of my closest friends, Kyle Morris, will be joining us on the Titan MR hotline. We got a lot to talk about. Had the NBA playoffs kick off yesterday. NHL playoffs are in full force, and a little bit of Major League Baseball. But let's welcome in our Tuesday morning guest, Buddy Martin. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. Nice to see you again.
Yes, sir. Before we get into, yesterday it was just a whirlwind of news out there. Let's talk, because I always love to talk Tuesday mornings with Buddy about a little golf. Billy Horschel, former Gator, loses by one shot, had his chances. But another former Gator golfer, Sam Horsfield, wins on the European Tour. So a good weekend for the Gators out on there on the professional golf tour.
Yeah, I really hated it for Billy. Although the guy that won, you couldn't help but pull for him. What a scene that was. Trying to drink the bottle of water with a cap on it.
That was funny. You know what's funny is about golf. You can't play defense. You can't stop the other guy from doing anything. And if they hit great shots, they make putts and they deserve to win. Tip your cap and move on. But a good weekend for those guys on tour. Yesterday, SEC starts football practice around the league, and we come out and we now know who we are playing and when we are playing them. Your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, well, just to comment on the putt by Billy Horschel, you look at that thing 9 different ways. You think it's going to break right, it's going to break left, and of course, Billy, I think he read it right, but maybe it was the speed on the putt. But gosh, I hate to see him miss that putt because you don't get a chance to win like that very often. Yeah, wow, what a day! What a day! I mean, I'm so hooked on this new all SEC schedule. I don't want it to ever go away. Let's do this. I've been telling you,
you've been preaching for a long time, buddy, and I agree. I think it's going to be very difficult if we ever get back to normalcy to go back without playing 10 SEC games in a year. I just think the fans are going to love it. Again, I put on my coaching hat and my former player hat, and my thoughts for those kids that have an opportunity to play at the smaller schools, get their education, have great experiences, and possibly move on to the National Football League. I know the fans don't care to hear about that, but I'm going to keep preaching it because it's a great opportunity. And if those small schools lose football for whatever reason, it's just going to hurt so many athletes.
Shane, I'm tired of you and Urban Meyer beating me up about that.
Urban says that too?
Oh, yeah. Every time we do this podcast every week, on Fridays. And he says, it's the whole college experience. That's what's important.
Well, it is.
I get it. But, you guys don't get this. They're separate. I put them. I mean, look, I get it. I'm all for that. Look, I was a walk-on baseball player in Florida and lasted a couple of seasons. But, of course, I love that. But the bottom line is we're talking a new age, new era. This is not the same old your grandfather's college football. This is a new day. You got to be out there. You got a product. You got to put it out there. I'm sorry. I know Urban hates to hear that. You hate to hear it. But I don't want the smaller and mid-majors and schools to go away. I want them to have their own deal. And I'd like to see it prump up and even make the playoff bigger and do a better job on TV. So that's what I feel. Maybe the spring's where they ought to play. I don't know.
Well, no, I hear your point. But in order for those smaller schools to stay in existence, they're going to have to play the big boys to get paid. And, Doring and I talked about it yesterday on my show. When he was doing TV, he was in the booth doing like that ESPN SEC network on like the alternate channels. You had to like pay-per-view. It would be like Ole Miss versus Louisiana Monroe.
Right.
He said he was doing a game. I think it was Alabama against maybe UT Chattanooga. He said he went to the walkthrough.
There's a barn burner, UT Chattanooga, Alabama.
Right. But you got to look at it from the Chattanooga standpoint, buddy.
Mhm.
What if your son was a starting quarterback for UT Chattanooga? This is an experience. He's in Bryant-Denny Stadium. My point is, Dorian goes down to their walkthrough on Friday in Bryant-Denny Stadium to talk to their coaches and their players. He said so many kids had their cameras and video cameras out, just videoing, and were in awe of being in an SEC environment. That's what it's all about. It's a great opportunity for these kids. So let's play 10 SEC games, throw Florida State in there, 11, and at least have one game where South Alabama or Wofford or somebody can come, get paid. And I don't care about the fans. If fans don't want to come, don't come. But my point is, until you're in the position of it being a former athlete or a former coach, nobody will understand that.
Well, I don't buy that, because that's like saying if you've never shot a bullet, you've never been in the Army, you can't talk about the war or whatever. I mean, I think it's part of the experience. If you want to, and I don't want to turn this into this whole discussion this morning, because I know you got to move forward. We got some things to discuss, like no shows of football practice. But here's the thing. Go ahead and do it in the spring, like we talked about. Give them that game. Those spring games are fraudulent anyway. You know, they're not.
So you're going to pay them $800,000?
Well, I mean, pay them whatever the gate is. Give it to them all. You know, so give them $300,000. Well, I mean,
we'll talk about this discussion later on, but again, until you actually are a player or a coach,
don't give me that.
People will not understand that.
No. So, all right. So you're a coach. Until you're a coach, you can't understand it.
Again,
I mean,
so your son has a chance to be the starting quarterback at South Alabama.
Yeah, good.
I want to see him play in the swamp.
Of course I do. This is not socialized football. This is not socialized. This is big boy football. It's a business, Shane. It's
I understand
not a club. It's a business.
Opportunity. Your college life is a 3, 4, 5 years, and there is no reason why those kids shouldn't have an opportunity to play the big boys. All right, let's talk about yesterday. What do you want to talk about yesterday?
Now you got me all fired up, Shane. I just loved it so much that we got what I wanted, which was see excitement back in football. We've got football again, Shane. We've got football. What a tremendous day it was yesterday. I mean, think of all those days that we were so down and up and yo-yoing back and forth, and now we got people talking about games. The schedule is kind of funky in some ways, but I think Florida drew a good hand there. And then I want to talk about Dan Mullen's presser when he talked about what he could say and couldn't say about the missing players. You would know more about that. But let's start off with the schedule, okay? I don't know what you see, but I thought the schedule turned out pretty well. I like the way it falls for Florida. As somebody said, you start off on the Grove and you end up on Rocky Top. But be careful about that Rocky Top. You know the history. You know what happened that year in 2001. That could have been a national championship team. Philip Fulmer's team comes into the swamp, and the game it was postponed or rescheduled by 9/11. Florida loses the game by like 35-31 or whatever. It was real close, and they could have had a national championship team or at least contention. And because of the schedule, and boy, you know they're waiting up in Knoxville. They've been waiting a long time, and they're thirsty and they're hungry. And finally, all these years we had to play Florida earlier in the season, we got them at the end. That's an advantage for Tennessee. Now we'll see how that plays out because it's a long season. But that's the one. And the second thing is, I don't know why, but it kind of bothers me that the Florida-Georgia game is not on the 31st. It's been moved to the 7th. And I'm not sure why they did that. I guess they could get the stadium that weekend, and it was available. The Jags were out of town, and they whatever. I guess. I'm not sure why they did that. But someone said, well, maybe they don't want a big crowd in Jacksonville. And that could be. It's possible. Other than that, the schedule's fabulous.
Yeah, and we still don't know if fans are even going to be in the stands, you know.
Well, they'll be all over Jacksonville. You know that.
Well, they'll be there, but they may not be able to go in the ballpark. But, we do start out at a great venue up in Oxford week 1. It's a shame that it won't be a normal Saturday because that's one of the great tailgate spots in all of college football.
It's wonderful.
We'll have to wait and see what their plans are with that, how many fans are allowed to go, this, that, and the other. But I agree. I think it's going to be very, very exciting. It's going to be some tremendous games week in and week out. Um, it's going to be it's going to be a brutal 10-week, 11-week schedule, playing that many SEC games.
But look what you got every week. Every weekend you don't have a bad weekend. There's good games. There's at least one good game every weekend. So I'm real happy about that. Listen, I just want to see the season get here. And now there's a lot of talk about what if Greg Sankey could be a genius or a buffoon, depending on what it turns out. But the people up in the Big Ten country, where they're signing these petitions, and the players' parents want games to be played, it's not going to make a difference. But if the Big Ten screws this up and there's a season and they're not in it, somebody's head's going to have to roll.
Let me just say this, buddy. SEC is going to play. It's this whole issue is catastrophic for the Big Ten. I don't even care about the Pac-12. Nobody cares really about the Pac-12. They've been not wanting to play football out there for many, many months.
Sissy conference.
Yeah, but this is going to really destroy the Big Ten if the SEC and ACC pull this thing off, and the Big 12, which I think they're going to do. Parents are very upset. I don't blame them one bit, because when your commissioner doesn't have the answers, and then there's been word that's come out that the presidents didn't even vote on this. So who made this?
That's not good. That's not good. I told you before last week there's a disconnect here. There was a major disconnect when they don't even know who made the decision and how they arrived there. That's not good.
Did you see the tweet I'm referring to, buddy?
I saw about the
Penn State athletic director on the Big Ten's decision.
Right.
Quote, "It is very unclear to me whether or not there was a vote. No one's ever told me there was. I just don't know whether there actually was a vote by the chancellors and the presidents."
Yeah.
I mean, they're in disarray up there, but it's hurting the athlete. It's hurting the athlete because, again, I go back, you have 3 to 5 years to play college football. You'll never get it back. I have so much respect for Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields because, buddy, those two kids don't ever have to play another down of college football. They're going to play professionally, but they love the game. They love their university. They love their teammates. They want their teammates to have an opportunity to have an experience of a lifetime, and it's being taken away from them in the Big Ten. I don't agree with it. Some people may, but they blame it on the myocarditis, if I pronounce that correctly. That's been around forever.
Yep.
Anytime you have a virus that affects the heart. So this is not something new.
Yep.
The SEC in Florida has been testing for this for years. Maybe the Big Ten is just far behind the times.
Yeah, it's sort of like my doctors versus yours. By the way, I like this new Feisty Shane. Shane. I like this. This is good, man. It's been inside of you the whole time. It just takes a jerk like me to pull it out of you.
No, I get very upset about the kids. I get very upset about the smaller schools. If their football programs, not just their football programs, if their sports programs fold, think about how many athletes that affects around the entire country.
Sure.
To go to college to get an education and have an opportunity to fulfill their dreams.
I agree with you on that, Shane. I don't want to be cast as the guy who's Grinch who stole college football. I mean, I'm with you on that. And I agree it's a college experience and all that, but it's a business too.
No, I get it.
You got to remember that these teams are going to go away. These schools are going to go away without this big ticket football. If they want to have some kind of program where they help the smaller schools, I say go back to Division I, Division II, and let's play big boy football. Give me that SEC every weekend, and don't make me watch these games. I'm sorry about Eastern Washington, et cetera, et cetera.
See, I'm a college football fan. I have no problem watching that because you know why? Because there may be a kid that I coached or a kid's son that I know that plays for Eastern Washington, and I enjoy watching. I'll watch anybody and play college football. I'd rather watch Eastern Washington play Montana State than watch the Redskins and the Cowboys play because there's passion. There's passion for that Eastern Washington game.
Wait a minute. You were a Redskin. There's a passion in the Redskins Cowboys. You used to be.
No, there ain't. Right? No, there ain't. Hey, win, lose, or draw, you get paid and you move to the next week.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So, buddy, tell me about, we had some players missing practice yesterday.
Yeah. I want to talk about that for a second. And you and I had an off-air discussion. Then I want to talk about who's left, because it struck me that what if these three wide receivers and defensive linemen, what if they're not there? Who knows what's in the minds of Kadarius Toney and Trevon Grimes and Jacob Copeland? Although I think Grimes is going to play. I hear that he's not going to. No, he's got a lot of potential, which of course is a French word that means you're not worth a damn yet. Potential, but bottom line is that I pointed up to me, and then one thing about this whole pandemic, this whole situation, is it brought about. It's like during the recession when the banks had stress on them, you began to see all the flaws and the problems. What this pandemic has done has shown us the weakness, the problems, the places that have to be dealt with. And I think this is a situation with Florida. When you look at the roster, I'm just looking at it as a guy. I don't know the insides like you do. A guy who says, well, here's the depth chart. And you look at the wide receiver chart, you think, man, they used to be kind of loaded. They got maybe the best wide receiver coach in college football, but all of a sudden he's missing three guys on those depth charts who were guys that would be sometimes starters. And you look back at last year's, the four seniors, what role they played, and now you see what you lost, guys, because if you look down the list of these players, I made a list last night. It's not complete, but you tell me. I'm not sure who all's eligible yet. Jordan Pouncey, Justin Shorter, they got to have him. Xavier Henderson's a freshman. Jamarcus Weston, I hear good things about. Everybody's talking about Rick Wells, the senior. Let's see what he can do. He's been there long enough. And the two guys I like a lot, Trent Whittemore and Jaquan and Jay Frazier's, who, by the way, is becoming the first player in Florida history to wear the zero, the number. That's so awesome. What does that tell you?
It tells you that well, this first year you can wear number 0 by the NCAA rules. I think it's great. Here's the thing, buddy. Do we want those other guys to play? Yes. If they opt out, it's their decision. There is nothing wrong with that. But you got to remember, you just said we got to have Justin Shorter. We got to have somebody else. How do we know they're the answer? How do we not know it's C.J. Henderson's little brother? It's not Favors. It's not Trent Whittemore. It's not Weston. My point is, we don't know. Just because you have some experience, let's not forget, Kadarius Toney has 10 catches last year. 10.
He's hurt, though.
Well, he's always hurt. Here's my point. He goes backwards more than he goes forward. I have a problem with that. Coaches have a problem with that.
True, he is horizontal.
Real serious problem with that. Mm-hmm. Until he learns to go forward, he won't get many touches. Trevon Grimes, a big guy, caught about 30 balls, good, solid player. And then you got Jacob Copeland, good, young, upcoming guy. But we got plenty of dudes. You mentioned all of them there. Yes, we don't know if they can play or not, but we didn't know if Kyle Trask could play or not last year until he got an opportunity. Mm-hmm. So it's all about be given an opportunity. Just because they are penciled in as, quote, starters doesn't mean they're going to continue being starters, right? So that's my point. I just look at it from a standpoint of, does it hurt your depth? You still rattled off about 10 guys. You don't play more than 6 or 7 receivers in a game.
Well, no, I didn't rattle off 10. I rattled off about 8.
Okay, 8's plenty. You can play plenty of football.
But if they're all eligible and not hurt and don't have the COVID, that's my point. Well, if you get 1 or 2 guys with the COVID in the wide receiver room, and I hate that term now, especially, better not put them all in one room because it can affect your whole.
They're in the safest place in America between college athletes and the NBA bubble and the NHL bubble.
Right.
But here's my other thing, buddy. There's 85 scholarship players, about 105 players on the team, counting your walk-ons.
Mm-hmm.
You can only dress 70 for an SEC game. Do you know on the average how many players play in a game on a Saturday out of those 70?
Not as many, because I know I'd have to take a wild guess, but it's not that many. I know. I understand what you're saying. I had to throw a number out there. 45. I don't know. I have no idea.
No, it's an average of 31 players.
Average. Okay.
Average. So you got 70 dudes sitting on the sideline. 39 of them are just wearing their uniform.
Now, wait. That can add up. That can't be right because you got 22 and you got special teams.
But majority of your special teams are your starters.
Well, that's true. They're playing more and more now like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my point is, everybody worries about all this depth. Remember, was it last year or 2 years ago when some of our DBs left? It was last year, wasn't it? Everybody's worried about the depth at the defensive secondary.
Yeah, it was for a while there for a
Way
minute.
too much into that because just because you're the second or third team safety, dude, you ain't gonna play in the game probably. So anyway,
here's the thing, Shane. You're a talk show host now. Okay.
Yep.
Our new job is to try to identify talent when we see it. Okay. We don't come up from the coach's standpoint, although you have a lot of knowledge of the game and you have good sources. The fact is, I want you to tell me of those people I just mentioned, which one of those players are going to step up and take those positions.
Xavier and Henderson.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I want you to tell me.
Favors.
All right.
Favors.
Yeah.
Trent Whittemore will play. He is a solid football player. They like him a lot. So my point is,
you talking about Frazier's? Frazier, you talking about Jay Frazier's?
Yeah, the kid from Dunellen.
Okay, I thought you said Favors. I'm looking at my roster. I can't find it.
Yeah,
I thought you did. Yeah, Frazier's. No, I like Frazier's a lot. You know what he is? I mean, I met him. I can at least say that. I met him and talked to him. He was a Scott Brantley finalist, trophy finalist. He's smart. He had off the charts of grades. He was Jeffrey Mellon Scholar Athlete of the Year. He's a great kid and he's smart, and he's probably going to be a doctor someday. And so I'm with you. I think Frazier's is a guy to watch. But here's the deal. I'm going to let you go because you got that look. You got to keep moving.
No, you're fine.
Trust is everything. You tell me, in football on your team, your coaches and your players, if you don't have trust and you can't be counted upon, you're no good to me. And that's kind of what you're saying in a way. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You can't count on Tony. You don't know, is he all in or not all in?
Well, it's not if he's all in or not. My point is, buddy, if you're a play caller and you have a play, no matter who it is, and you're designed to get the ball to, let's say, Buddy Martin.
Sure.
If Buddy Martin is going to get me a minimum of 3 yards and maybe break one for a touchdown.
And he don't drop the ball.
I'm going to get you the ball.
Yeah.
If Buddy Martin is a guy that I'm not sure if I give him the ball, if he's going to score a touchdown, make 10 moves, or go backwards and lose 6 yards or 8 yards, I ain't giving him the ball because I don't want to be calling a play when it's 2nd and 18.
I hear you. Well, that's trust. That is trust.
Yes.
And quarterbacks know what receivers they can trust. Teammates know what players they can trust. You want to know they're going to be there when you need them, right? And coaches, above all, need to know that these players are going to be there when they need them. So that's what they have to learn and about this team as they get ready to practice. Now, we're not that far away from that first game in the Grove. Well, I bet you'd like to be there, huh?
I would. I would love to go that. Like I said, I don't know if they're going to have fans or not. We shall see. Real quick,
go cover the game.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. August is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. We're speaking with Buddy Martin. Here we got a few more minutes with him, and then we're going to be joined by former Gator Kyle Morris. So, Buddy, so I understand. Did you get a lot of people on your show last night really concerned about the 3 receivers and Zach Carter, the defensive end, not showing?
Not really. 1 or 2.
Well, here's the thing. Gator fans shouldn't be upset. Again, kids have the full opportunity to opt out if they choose, and their scholarships will be there. Now, if they do that, I've been told that not here at Florida, but everywhere, you're not going to be around the facility at all. You're still just going to be a student.
Makes sense.
If that's what they choose, that's great. But let me tell you something. Those guys all need to play if they plan to go to the next level, because the only one that has a good chance of being drafted in the 3rd or 4th round is Trayvon Brown, only because of his size. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with it. I think that they need the playing time for sure. Again, it just points up the need for me. And again, in our business, it's our job to point out that Deontay Marks is gone. You know, I don't know if he's any good or not, but they recruited him, they signed him. So as we go over the depth chart, and by the way, the other thing, the telling thing to me was in the press conference, the Zoom conference yesterday, Dan Mullen was not a happy camper. First of all, he came 45 minutes late, and I get it. He has things and whatever. But secondly, he was kind of short with his answers. And I'm thinking if I were him, I would be not happy either, although you got football for a day, so be happy about that. And he's worried and concerned, as every coach in the SEC is. Mullen knows he's got a little bit extra on him because people are expecting the Gators to compete. They're this far from picking them over Georgia. Everybody's going, well, I wanted to pick Florida, but I'm not sure. So any little thing. And coaches are great for this. They always make a big deal out of, well, we got to get more depth. We got to get this. We got to get that. We don't have enough. Well, they tell us these things. So I'm looking at the roster. I'm seeing, well, who are going to be these guys? So Mullen yesterday was a little bit antsy, but I'm sure that he was nervous and concerned because you know what? He can't be sure who his team is.
Well, every coach is antsy after day one. Day one practices stink because you're getting reacclimated, putting a helmet on first. They haven't done a whole lot with footballs. You got to remember that. And secondly, they're going through living hell the last five months because they haven't done what they've had to change their entire program of how to practice, how to lift weights, how to go in the locker room and get dressed. You have to take shifts. So
that's true.
Trust me, it's frustrating for me, and I'm not even on the team to even know what they have to go through. Yeah. Where you have to space your meetings out. I would be frustrated as hell if I was a coach too, because you're having to change what you've been doing for the last 30 years.
I'm with you on that. I understand and I sympathize, but like they say, that's why he gets the big bucks. So, and the hat is squarely on Dan Mullen. You know, I'm a big fan of Dan's. You know that. And I've talked about it. I've been accused of being the sunshine pumper because of these last 2 years. So I thought they were going to do well, and they have done well. Now it's that next step, and now you have all these obstacles in the way. So I understand why you'd have to be full of angst. But, again, he's got good players. He's got a good schedule. The one X factor is we don't know what the COVID's going to do, how that's going to affect it, but everybody's going to have to deal with it. So one thing about it, the COVID plays no favorites.
That's right. Well, buddy, we appreciate your time. I'll be checking in with you tonight on your show.
Tonight on my show, yeah. Come on, man. I'm gonna talk about some more tonight. I'm gonna holler at you on my show tonight.
Do that. I wasn't hollering at you, buddy. I was hollering through you.
I like it. I thought it was
Appreciate
good.
it, buddy.
Thank you, Shane.
At Center State Bank, we put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Going to take our first time out of the pro. When we come back, we'll be joined by former Gator Kyle Morris. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your area rug cleaning services. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Radware, Style Cuts, Wrap Spot, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Chris Doring Mortgage, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, MB Listings, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Cornerstone Financial Group, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Master, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith, Personal Injury Attorneys, and Gainesville Neon and Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us. Welcome back to this Tuesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I want to thank Buddy Martin for joining us. Hey, folks, Celebration Point is where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. Now we're going to go back to the Titan MRI hotline, and we're joined by my old former roommate, Kyle Morris. Good morning, Kyle. How are you?
Morning, Shane. It's football season.
You dang right it is, my man. And we're going to talk a lot of football here, but let's go back to your days. You're a baseball and a football star in Clinton, Mississippi. And, it's interesting that you chose to go to Florida, but tell people why you chose to go to Florida.
Well, Shane, I did grow up, we're a 10-hour, 11-hour drive from Gainesville, but my dad was from Panama City. So we grew up Gators. My Uncle Billy played there in the late 50s. And, but we grew up going to 3 or 4 Gator games a year. I went to Gainesville to home games. We always went to Baton Rouge if they were playing in Alabama or if they were in Mississippi. So I grew up a Gator. I mean, my baby clothes were Gator clothes. So that was my goal. That was my dream. And I did consider some other schools during recruiting, but, when you grow up from birth and that's what you want to do, it really wasn't much of an option. So that was a lifelong dream that I got to experience, even though, it didn't turn out the way I wanted. I wouldn't change a thing. It was great. And just to be able to run out of that tunnel as the Gator starting quarterback is something that I'm just very blessed to have been able to do it.
Talk about, back in those days, there was no social media, and I don't even know if they ranked recruiting classes, but gosh, your recruiting class, you come in, it was you and I believe Herbert Perry at quarterback, who was also a baseball player. And you had obviously Emmett and Mark White, Tony Rao, Hisham Ishmael, Terrence Barber, and I think Fee Bardley. I mean, I'm sure I'm leaving some guys off, but I mean, where would you rank that recruiting class the year you came in?
Well, like you said, it's so different now. Back then you had, basically Max Semfinger that would put out his blue chip magazine, that you got a month that, you were a month behind on everything. But it has to be, now it could either say something about the place that Florida football was then, because obviously we were the first full recruiting class coming off of probation. But we signed kids. We had 2 kids leave out of our group, but I'm pretty sure we had a starter at every position at some point in their career at Florida. And that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We had, the kicker, Arden, you got Emmitt Smith. We had an offensive line, Glenn Neely, like you said, Hisham, Tony, Mark White, Kyle Dixon. The receiver had Terrence Barber and Alonzo Sullivan, and then you go on the defensive side, Culpepper and McCoy and a lot of NFL players. So it's a dang good class. That's really the senior group was Spurrier's first year, and then those that were redshirted, 91 would have been their senior year. So they were certainly a big part of the turnaround. But certainly a really good recruiting class to be a part of.
We're speaking with Kyle Morris on the Titan MR hotline. So Kyle, we were roommates at Yon Hall together, and we all lived in Yon Hall our entire career there. Just talk about what it was like, our experience in Yon Hall. And do you think it hurts college football now that they've done away with athletic dorms?
I think it's one of the biggest mistakes they ever made. The excuse, because it happened right after we got done. Yon Hall, that was our fraternity. You can't, when you're on campus, we had a couple guys that were in fraternities, but that was kind of our social group. But they said, well, we need to incorporate the athletes into the normal student body. Well, the problem was then, and I don't know how it is now, but the football team, yeah, the student body cheered for us on Saturday, but they really didn't like us. You know, they didn't like that you get special treatment, that you have your own dining hall, that and it was not as close on campus between the students and the athletes for the most part. But, you know, you get these athletes and, you know, this goes to a bigger picture. You got the Pac-12 saying they want to get paid, and, you know, everybody, this image, likeness, name that they're allowing you to get paid for now. You know, the student athlete gets so much more than the regular student already in making his life or her life easier, from the standpoint of just not having to go through registration, not having to go through drop ad. You need a tutor, you go downstairs. That's what we in Yon Hall. You go downstairs. You're hungry. You go downstairs. You need a doctor. You go downstairs. You know, so the student athlete already has so many advantages to make their life easier, and then to take them out and spread them around all over Gainesville to different. You know, think about that now. Do you think in COVID they would like to have Yon Hall back open? Where you go from the second story and you walk down 2 flights of stairs and you're in the locker room. It was, you know, you wake up, on Saturday nights, you go to bed about 2 a.m. with Snoop Dogg blaring down the hall. And then you wake up Sunday morning to gospel music and because that's what a lot of the kids grew up at their grandmother's, listening to the gospel music. So you got to watch, you know, Catherine laughs at me now about my music arrangement. You know, I've got everything from George Jones to Snoop Dogg to some Christian music in between. So you learn a whole lot when you're living in the dorm.
There ain't no doubt about it. Kyle, so, you know, you were starting quarterback there, you know, with Emmett and what have you, and then Coach Spurrier comes in, and a lot of people have always asked me, how did you and Kyle how did y'all stay friends competing for the job and you know, winning the job, and Kyle ended up transferring? Just talk a little bit, because I've respected it. You, obviously, we're still very good friends. How you handle that, how your parents handle that, and just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was, you know, the problem I had, and I, you know, at 51 years old now, it's easier, and having an 18-year-old son that plays quarterback, it's easier to look back now and understand that, you know, my goal growing up my entire life was to be the starting quarterback at University of Florida. And when that occurred, I'm a 19-year-old freshman, and I've basically achieved my goal. Now, I didn't have a goal to go on and play in the NFL. Sure, I would have, you know, who wouldn't want to? But I didn't fully take advantage of the opportunity I had when I went to the University of Florida. I loved Florida, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being quarterback. I was the quarterback, but look, I was at nickel beer night, wherever it was, and I was having a good time, and I was enjoying the whole process of being the Gator quarterback. And I got better, but I didn't get as better, you know, every year as I could have. And, you know, we had a ton of quarterbacks that come through there in 2 or 3 years. And early on, I was the best one, you know. I had a lot of talent. I came to Florida, I didn't know anything about being a quarterback, because I came from a remedial high school that, as far as the play calling, that, you know, I barely knew what coverages were when I got there, and played when I really wasn't ready to be played. 88 was a difficult year. 89, we were really good, and then the suspensions came, and I think we would have won the SEC that year. Then when Spurrier came in, even though, and I know you've said this, even though I was a lifelong Gator fan, you know, Steve Spurrier was before my time. You know, I grew up with Wayne Peace and Bobby Huco. And so I didn't really know that much about Spurrier. And when he came in, obviously, it was great for you because everybody knew how talented you were. And, you just didn't have an opportunity. And again, it had more to do probably with the fact that we probably had 10 quarterbacks in the quarterback room. And it's easy to get lost in that situation. And then Spurrier comes in and opens it up. And look, we were good friends. And I was as disappointed as I was in the fact that I had lost my job. I was happy for you. I was genuinely happy for you, to have that opportunity. And I wasn't upset because I knew you earned it, And so then my goal turned to, yes, there was some time of frustration and aggravation. I know that Spurrier came in, I think, the third week of the year and said, well, we're going to make some changes. We're going to move Brian Fox up to number 2. And I'm thinking, why in the hell is he doing that? And I confronted him about it. And, Spurrier gave one of the normal Spurrier answers, which I'm sure I didn't like. And sure enough, that's the week the first series of the game, you get a hit pointer against Mississippi State.
Yeah.
They take you into the locker room. They bring Brian in, and he was lucky to hit grass with the football when he threw it. So he gets 2 series, and I think it throws an interception or certainly 3 and outs. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to get a chance. But here you come. They got you taken care of, and you're back in the game. And it was a difficult time for a 20-year-old kid to figure out, or 21, whatever I was. But it did more to mold me going forward. And it's another thing of the importance of football and why it needs to be played is these kids learn so much about life, so much. I love the Bill Curry, whatever you call it, that he did for ESPN, where he's talking about the importance of the huddle. And you do. You've got different races, different backgrounds that all stick their head in the huddle and say, I'm going to fight for the guy next to me. We don't ask, where'd you come from or what's your religion, or, it's just so important that, that's why I like my kids playing sports. I know, Luke plays sports, and it's important to you. And I think that the people that get it, and the people that don't probably never will, And so,
Yep. The deal is up, and it's good. It's Campus USA and Davis Chevrolet biggest sale of the year. They will put you in a new car between August 20th and August 23rd. The lowest interest rates of the year, a free $100 gift card, and no payments for 90 days. Valid all week at Davis Chevrolet. We're speaking with Kyle Marsh here on the Titan of our hotline. So, Kyle, you end up transferring to Mississippi College. You play football and baseball there. And then you get into the family business. Cal-Maine Foods, I want to say it's the largest egg producer in the country. So if you're eating egg this morning watching the show, it probably came from Cal-Maine Foods. Just talk a little bit about that, and then we'll talk about what you got going on now.
I did when I went to Mississippi College my senior year, and that was, I've got, thinking back 30 years later, I've got mixed emotions from the standpoint of we didn't really realize how poor my father's health was when I did it. I transferred back. Our practice field was, 2 blocks from my dad's office, so he got to come to practices at MC. You go back to, riding the Greyhound bus to games and playing in front of 2,000 people instead of 80,000. But it was fun. I mean, it was playing football, and it was almost like going back to a high school reunion, because it's, the Division II was more like high school, but it was still playing. It was still fun. You still had the same, like I said, the same locker room, same huddle. You still got all of those emotional needs met, even though it's Division II. And it was a blessing. My dad died, at the end of that football season. And so knowing that he got to see me play, because football was so important to him, and in our growing up together. And then I came back to Florida as soon as the football season was over to finish up school. And that's when my dad died. I wanted to go into coaching. My dad died. My mom was back home alone. And I'm like, shoot, I'm a mama's boy. I'm moving back home to take care of mama, and I'm going to find a job. And was lucky enough to go to work at Cal-Maine. I know we've got a large presence there in Florida with some farms. And so did that for 20 years. And it was a different side of learning the business side of things. As a quarterback, you know how to relate to people and deal with people and manage people. And so it was a good fit. I did that for 20 years. And then in 2012, I left that business and didn't really know what I was going to do, but wound up buying the local golf course that I grew up playing. So have been doing that ever since.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Live Oaks Golf Club. You host weddings out there. It's a beautiful facility. But before that, I want to let everybody know, you have such a great attitude about life, and you've been battling cancer for quite some time that the Gator Nation may not be aware of. Just talk briefly about that.
Yeah, Shane, I had a lump in my chest that back in 2011, I think it was, and it was almost like the size of a pencil eraser. And as men, we do what we do and ignore it. And I ignored it for years. And then my wife, Catherine, we were dating at the time, and I was pursuing her a lot harder than she was pursuing me. And finally she said, listen, for your birthday, I got you a doctor's appointment. And if you love me, you'll go to the doctor's appointment. I'm like, damn, why'd she do that? But so now, like I said, I'm pursuing her a lot harder than she's pursuing me. So I'm thinking, well, I got to go to this doctor's appointment if I want to have any chance whatsoever. And so I go to the doctor and come out of there 2 hours later and find out I've got diabetes and I've got breast cancer. And so now I'm thinking, well, shoot, now I don't like this girl. I mean, look what she's done to me. But, it turns out she saved my life. About 3 weeks later, I started chemo, did my surgery, had the mastectomy, removed my right side, got rid of the cancer, did radiation, went on to do chemo for another year, and was cancer-free for about 6 or 8 months. And one day I wake up and I'm having trouble breathing. And when I get to work, get out of the car, walk into the office, and I've got to sit down and take 5 minutes to catch my breath because, and look, I'm fat and old and out of shape, but I knew it wasn't that. I was having trouble breathing. Go back to the doctor. I've got blood clots in my lungs. When they get that cleared up, it reveals that the cancer has moved to my lungs. So I start chemo again, and I've been doing that. I've been doing that every Monday now for a couple more years. And I've still got cancer. It's not growing. It's not shrinking. There's not really anything we can do other than maintain it. And we're doing that. It's not fun all the time, but it is what it is. And, I certainly, everybody tells me what a great attitude I have about it, but I think it's part of growing up an athlete and playing football. I've thrown an interception. What am I going to do? Am I going to go curl up on the bench and cry about it, or am I just going to try to learn from it and go to the next play? And that's kind of what I do. I wake up the next day and I figure out what we're going to do. And it's probably going to kill me one day, but it's not today. So I'm not, that's what I'm worried about is today. So,
We're speaking with Kyle Morrison, the Titan MR Hotline. Kyle, talk about Live Oaks. You bought this golf course. You've done all kinds of renovations. You've put in a wedding facility. It's a beautiful place. Just what it means to you.
Yeah, growing up, I had my core friends, Ben and Jeff Long, and we grew up, and we had a couple of older friends that were 3 years older than us, Brent and Kenny, that were big golfers. And so they could drive before we could. So when we're 13 and they're 16, if we wanted to go do something, we had to jump in the car with him and go to the golf course. And we went to Live Oaks. It was our local golf course. So we grew up playing there and love the course. It's an area around Jackson where supposedly the Mennonites traveled up from New Orleans and settled hundreds of years ago, and they're the ones that planted these live oak trees because it's the only place. Of course, y'all have a ton of them down in Florida, but it's the only place around central Mississippi where you can find live oak trees, and supposedly the Mennonites planted them. But they're beautiful 250-year-old live oak trees, with the limbs coming down to the ground and just beautiful. And the owner of the course, it was on its third owner, and he had poor health, and they were, ready to get out of the business, and the course was in bad shape. But it was a great piece of land in a good school district. It was in my Clinton school district where I grew up. And, we bought it with the idea of developing a neighborhood around the golf course, and that proved to be too expensive. But we've spent some money renovating the golf course, got a great golf course, really good condition. We're kind of the middle of the road course in Jackson because we got 2 or 3 really nice courses, one of them where the PGA Tour plays each year. But we're a really nice golf course, but we had these live oak trees we knew we had to take advantage of. So we've recently relocated our golf clubhouse, and we've built this 15,000 square foot banquet facility to do weddings and corporate parties. And it's nestled under the live oak trees. We call it the Reed House at Live Oaks after my grandparents. I grew up going to their house on Sunday, and it was always a good, fun experience. So in honor of them, we named it the Reed House at Live Oaks. You can find it on social media, but just a beautiful setting to have a wedding or a corporate party, or, we're having a funeral next week. One of our members died, and their family's like, look, we would love to have the funeral there. So we're there to do just about any kind of event. And, right now in COVID, it's kind of, we had our first wedding last week. Everybody's concerned about social distancing, and the good news is we've got such a large venue that we can still have a sit-down dinner of over 300 people. We can get outside and spread out, and so we're able to do a lot of things now that others can't. So we're trying to grow that side of the business, and that's certainly keeping us busy right now.
Kyle, we got a Facebook Live comment here, a question brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Rick wants to know, Kyle, will you come by West End?
Absolutely. But boy, we used to, when you could get a cooler of beer and show up about 3:00 in the afternoon, and you didn't leave until midnight. My GPA probably would have been better at Florida if West End wouldn't have been there.
Yeah,
but it was a lot of fun.
No doubt about it. Well, Kyle, man, we appreciate you joining the program. We're glad you're doing well there in Mississippi, and we're running out of time. I wanted to get your thoughts on college football. Give me about a 2-minute synopsis of your thoughts of college football this year.
Well, I hope we get to play, and I don't care if it's no fans in the stands. These athletes are certainly safer on campus than they are spread out around at their homes. There's no, the debacle at North Carolina this week, there's no question there's going to be a spike when these kids get back on campus. To use the word ignore is the wrong word, but we got to understand that that's going to happen. And we've just got to look at the stats and know that it doesn't affect young people. You brought up earlier about the heart problems down the road, but we've got that with all other things. If the Big Ten thinks they're going to play in the spring, they're still going to have the same concerns over heart conditions in the spring as they're having now, and that's their excuse for not playing now. So fortunate, hope we can pull it off, because I certainly want to watch some football this fall.
Absolutely. Well, Kyle, appreciate you joining the show. Stay safe, my man, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Shane. Go Gators.
Yep, that's Kyle Morris. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. He's a good dude, one of my best friends, and we had some good times here together at Florida. Folks, make sure you follow us on Facebook, follow us and like us. You can check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Make sure you tune in the rest of the week. Got a great lineup for you. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.